And she said, I would say the agitation from the defendant when a key witness is on the stand is not out of the ordinary. The reason all this is out of the ordinary, though, is because it is a former president sitting in the chair. Tom, I'm going to assume you can see me. That in the sense is, hey, this is all pretty ordinary stuff in a courtroom, and then you add in porn star and president and everything changes.
Well, I don't think there was too much that went on in the courtroom today, Leland, that could be described as ordinary. Today was an extraordinary day by pretty much any measure. And look, to be candid, I'm not sure it was the prosecution's finest hour. In my judgment, I think they probably went a little too far in getting all this testimony out of Stormy Daniels that, as you correctly noted, made today really a not safe for work day in the New York courtroom. I would think that there may be some jurors who actually came away from today's proceedings maybe with a bit more sympathy for Donald Trump than they had coming in, because I think some of the jurors might have questioned the same thing you just did, which is to say, how is this relevant? This is a case about allegedly fraudulent business records and accounting and that sort of thing. It doesn't have to do with this actual affair. So from my perspective, I think the prosecution might have been better advised if they wanted to call her to the stand to get her to come in quickly, say, yeah, we had this affair, and move on, rather than have nearly 4 hours, and it's continuing, but so far 4 hours and counting of what has been very, very graphic testimony.
Ximena, give us what you thought was the most interesting, not testimony, but body language. What was the relationship between Stormy Daniels, Donald Trump, and the jury as all of this discussion about what allegedly went on in the hotel room in 2006?
For that delay earlier, there seemed to be a little weird with the technology, but Stormy Daniels didn't really look at the former president, and even when asked to point him out in the room, she seemed to look up and over, kind of indicating that he might not necessarily be in her line of sight. Now, most of the witnesses have not necessarily made eye contact with the former president when they are testifying against him. The jury seemed to be kind of looking back and forth at times, also looking down. But there were some interesting dynamics also with each of the lawyers that were questioning Stormy Daniels. When the defense came up to question, there definitely was more tension in the air as she was being questioned about the details of her story.
Yeah, and you think about some of her testimony, and obviously we have to read it because we don't have cameras in the courtroom, which would have added a whole new level to this whole thing. I just thought to myself, great, I put myself in this bad situation. What do I do? I guess that's at the moment she felt as though Donald Trump was propositioning her for sex. Afterwards, she testified, my hands were shaking so hard. Stormy Daniels testified that when speaking with Trump, he kept interrupting her. Trump showed her a magazine with him on the cover. Someone should spank you with that. She then rolled up the magazine and swatted him with it. After that, she said he was, quote, much more polite. There's different parts of this story, Tom, that jive with what she said in the past. The magazine thing is pretty consistent. But to your point about the prosecution and credibility, her whole thing about how she was shaking and she had this out-of-body experience, how do you square that with what we're about to play, which is her appearances on late-night TV joking about it? Take a listen.
Okay, enough of this. Stormy, show me on the puppet what he did to you.
A righteous mission to make America great again.
Kinky. The door to the hotel opens, and what is Donald Trump wearing?
Silky pajamas.
And they were black pajamas,
yes.
Right? Yeah. So he immediately looks like a Halloween pumpkin or something.
I'm pretty sure I thought he was channeling Hugh Hefner.
So, Tom, give us the strategy, because you're a courtroom brawler. Give us the strategy between impeaching her as a witness and letting the prosecution just sort of lie in the bed they've made.
Yeah, I think the strategy here, Leland, is number one, you point out to the jury all of the inconsistencies in her testimony over the years, and she has been all over the map. There was an affair, there wasn't an affair, here's what happened. And I think the defense can and has so far done a pretty effective job of telling the jury that her story has evolved over the years, to say the least. I think the other thing that you can do as a defense lawyer, and the defense team has done, is point out her motives here. In other words, she has been very upfront about she was looking to get money. She wanted to earn more money. And so I think by planting that seed in the juror's mind that she has, a possible bias here, she admitted on the stand that she hates Donald Trump. She's admitted on the stand that she had a motive to get money. All of these are points that the defense can make to just plant seeds of reasonable doubt in the minds of the juror about whether everything she's saying is 100% truthful and accurate.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.